Are you married yet? Congratulations. Good on you. Oh, you're not married yet. What are you waiting for? Or should I ask, oh, what are you afraid of? Well, we know that marriage is a very big deal, and when it comes to marriage, there's a whole lot to consider. But here, on Straight to the Point, we're going to skip all the frequently asked questions when it comes to marriage and delve into those very, very vital questions that nobody hardly asks, or the things that nobody thinks about when it comes to marriage, except when yawagas. So we're looking at the legal aspect of marriage. Trust me, you want to be around for this. So what I need you to do right now is very simple. Click on the subscribe button right now and turn on notification, because a whole lot is going to be happening here on Straight to the Point. I do. Let's marry. Let's be husband and wife. Everybody is asking God when, and then God does it. You are married. But you find out that there are so many things about marriage that you don't know about. Yes, of course, nobody really knows what marriage is until you get in. But then there's basic things that everyone should know about. If you are married and you haven't asked those questions, I think you should do that. And if you're yet to get married, those questions, when you find out, might change your whole perspective about getting married, at least for you to do it right. Trust me, we're not trying to scare anybody right now. So we have two incredible people right here in the studio to talk about them, and we're focusing on the legal aspect of marriage. I know when it comes to marriage, you want to know, oh, is he tall? Is he God-fearing? Does he have money? Can he provide? Oh, can she cook? Can she clean? Will my mother like her? Yeah, those are the basics and they're very important. But have you ever asked, what happens if this my spouse dies? What happens if we quarrel? What happens if this marriage ends? Marriages do end, you know that, right? For better, and then there's a worse. So I have guests in the studio, and they're just the perfect balance. One is married, one's not married. So they just represent you right now as you are. And I want to start with the beautiful bride. Praise, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gloria. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Now, Praise and Ahiaba Enema, I got that. She is a wife and a family lawyer, so she has a lot of information on these things. And then we have Owa Franklin. Hi, Franklin.
Hello.
Franklin is single and searching. Interesting man right here. He's also a family lawyer. He's also a family lawyer. So we are here to talk about all those aspects that people don't pay attention to. Now, I want to start with the icebreaker. I don't know if you people have ever heard that debate on, let me just put it across, because it was very popular at some point. If a man marries his first wife traditionally, a second wife in church, and the third in court, when that man dies, which of the three wives would his property go to, considering how they were all married? Which of these marriages give the actual right to which woman to now be the person who inherits everything? I want to start with you, Brace, because you're the one. Yes.
Yes.
Like, I want to start with
that's married.
Yes.
I'll start by saying that I was married, or my marriage was all three of them.
Okay.
Yeah. So you could be married traditionally, in the church, and legally. And interestingly, I did not have to go to the court or to the marriage registry to have my court wedding, as you call it, but it's really marriage under the act. Okay. You understand? It's marriage in the registry. So it's registered marriage. That's what court marriage is, the usual parlance, but it is a registered, legally binding marriage under the act, under the Marriage Act and the applicable laws in Nigeria and even in other parts of the world. So to answer that question, if you're married traditionally, you are customarily married. It's a customary marriage. It gives you rights to the man's property. When he's deceased, you have a right to his property, and that goes far and beyond until there's another kind of marriage in the picture. If that man continues with you and died married only to you, you're good. However, if along the line he marries another person legally and by the statutorily, if he marries someone at the court registries or a registered marriage under the act, then your marriage becomes, I don't want to say extinct, but legally it begins to lose its
Relevance
it
and
loses its validity.
Okay.
So the estate of the deceased would automatically be bequeathed to his legally married wife.
That's the third
That's
wife.
the position of the law.
Wait.
Under our law, the church marriage is not recognized.
Come again, please.
Church marriage is not
It's
recognized.
not recognized.
Please, I need you to raise your voice more. Did you just say?
Yes, church marriage is not recognized under our law. So we have basically 3 marriages. You have traditional marriage, Islamic marriage, and then marriage under the act, which we refer to as court marriage.
Yes.
So
Islamic marriage is recognized in our law, but not the church?
Not church marriage. It's not.
No,
if I may reason with them, I would say that basically everything that the church marriage intends to cover is already covered under the act. Because Islamic marriage, you marry more than one wife. Under traditional marriage, you can marry more than one. But most churches, I don't think there's any church that want to wed somebody twice.
I don't think there is any church at
There's
all.
a resemblance with the English practice.
So it's almost there's a unism in between what they intend to achieve. Then secondly, considering the 3 scenarios, marriage under the act, you are not permitted to marry more than one. So if you marry someone traditionally and you want to marry the person under the, you want to marry another person under the act, it's called bigamy.
Hold on. So you're saying if you marry someone traditionally and then take another person to court, that's bigamy?
That's bigamy. It's a crime.
Because we've always understood
bigamy.
Yeah, please.
Okay.
Yes, it's not bigamy unless you're married legally to another person, and you're only legally married to another person if you're married under the act to that person. I believe that's the position of the law.
The Marriage Act specifies that for anybody to be married under the act, he or she must not be married to another person. And our law recognizes traditional marriage as a marriage. So in your affidavit, you are going to state during your marriage, the processes, you have your affidavit of either spinsterhood or bachelorhood. So if you were married traditionally, you are not a spinster or you are not a bachelor.
Yeah, but what makes you married is what gives life to a marriage under the act, that everything we labor about when we talk about marriages in the Matrimonial Causes Act, in the Marriage Act, and all. What gives life to a marriage is the marriage certificate. And there's no such thing
as a certificate. But do you recognize the fact that a traditional marriage is valid?
It is valid to an extent. Okay? It's valid to an extent. It does not if we're going back to the scenario she painted, if you have those 3 marriages, you will agree with me that there's nothing that would give the customary marriage more validity than a marriage under the act. I know the exceptions that exist is, there's commitment if there's enough offspring that is recognized during the lifetime of the person, that I think the law creates an allowance to accommodate those children that have come into that situation without by no volition of theirs, and the law just provides that they be given some maintenance and support. But that is just to accommodate them. But for validity, the valid marriage, to the best of my knowledge, and black and white, is the marriage by the act.
Now, why it seems I'm saying there cannot be a marriage under the act, and if perhaps there was or there is, that second marriage under the act is void.
So hold on. According to you, you're saying if somebody is married traditionally first, and then you take another person to court, The fact that you're married traditionally invalidates the court marriage.
Ordinarily, the registrar in the first place should not accept to wed the second person, not being the person you're married to traditionally.
Okay, so here's the thing, I don't know how much
do you even prove that?
Yeah, there's a marriage.
I could be in a traditional marriage today, and depending on my customs, let me loosely use the Islamic marriage. If I say I divorce you 3 times, I'm done, and then I'm freely moving, and then I go and conduct another marriage. I may have just done that with my husband in the room, and then because there's no concrete.
Now, let me
nothing concrete binding you. I'm just rationalizing.
For traditional marriages, let's say the Islamic marriage, they say whatever. I divorce you. You have already done divorce. Then traditional marriage, especially the Igbo culture, you have to return the bride price.
That's the Igbo culture. There are cultures where you don't have to return the as long as you're out of that marriage.
What I wanted to pick out is for you to contract a marriage with another person under the Marriage Act, you have to divorce the person you're married to traditionally. If not, the registrar should never in the first place accept the second person for marriage.
I think we have spent a lot of time on this.
Yes, because
we haven't. There's a part that I don't want us to forget. It's laid down and established that where in the presence of a marriage under the Act, every other marriage is invalidated.
So here's the thing.
Maybe she take her position, then after
we can agree to disagree. We can agree to disagree. But you see, this is why those conversations. Yes. Now, this is why I think for the first time I'm realizing the importance of you sitting down with a lawyer before you even say I do.
Yeah.
Do you understand? Yeah. Because
before you do anything.
Because look at it, you can't even agree on which marriage is more important than the other. It makes sense from the Igbo tradition, because in Igbo tradition, families marry. Let's be realistic. It's not just 2 people getting married. I don't know about other traditions, but I'm going to keep it within the scale or scope of what I am 100% aware of, at least the marriage that I was involved in. Mostly families. And for it to end, there's got to be returning of the bride price. You have to return it, returning of the bride price. And in some areas, that traditional marriage is held so strongly. In fact, when you're going to get visa in some countries, just presenting evidence of a traditional marriage is enough to say that you are married. And all the others may not necessarily come into play. That is just enough. But the fact that we are having this conversation means that before a man and a woman should get married, I think they should sit down with a lawyer.
They should.
This is one of many things they have to talk about. One of many things they have to talk about. And please, now you're seeing how intense this conversation is. And you know that it's not just, I love him, I love her. There's got to be much more.
Need for that.
There's need for that. So let's now that we're even talking about property, let's go into this. Someone walked into a bank and said,
we are not taking our provision.
Please, let us talk about the church then. This is getting intense. Okay, please talk about this church.
So the thing about the church is simple. I will not say too much so that we can proceed. Yeah. If the church in question is a registered, a recognized or a licensed place of worship, then the church marriage is validated. If you remember, when I started, I said I did not have to go to the registry to have my marriage because my church is a registered place of worship.
Which church is that?
It's Dunamis.
Okay.
It's Dunamis International Gospel Center. That's my prayer.
I thought you were going to say
a member of the but you know.
I was about to say maybe the Catholic Church, the Anglican Church, because I thought only because Pentecostal churches, people kind of look at these churches like, are they really registered? Can you really take that in? But it's impressive that you said Dunamis, because I was really expecting you to say the Catholic Church or the Anglican Church or the Presbyterian Church. But now that we know that Pentecostal registered,
and the registration is not CAC registration because you might think, if the church has it's under the Ministry of Interior, which is the ministry that is mandated to, you know, conduct marriages and all of that. So if they are affiliated with the ministry, they gain the flavor of that. They get that authority to conduct marriages, valid marriages.
So even at that, you don't have to go to court. You can present that church marriage certificate.
They have to align themselves with the ministry. In fact, for me, I filled all the forms that I would have, you know, I do this for clients. So this time I had to someone did it for me in the church. So I provided my information and all of that was done just as I would do for a client in the marriage registry at the Ministry of Interior. So that happened, and I was issued, I have my dunamis certificate of marriage and my, you know, marriage under the act. The certificate was also, we're issued 2 certificates.
In church?
In the church. So in that case, it's valid.
So before you get married in the church, go and find out if your church is registered in Ministry of Interior.
Exactly.
So that could, yes.
That's very crucial. That's the only thing
I'm really hearing this for the first time, and I'm thinking a lot of people are not even aware, because I think when it comes to church marriages or church weddings, if I should use the word, it's really more about celebratory. Yeah. People don't think about the in-depth of it.
It's a blessing. It's just a blessing. That's all it's about.
When a spouse dies, what entitles you to his estate, especially when it comes to money in the bank?
If there are no children, then his parents. And if his parents are no more, then his brothers and sisters.
Next of kin basically is somebody you can reach out to in case of emergency. Yes. So you don't acquire any right or liability with regards to the person.
She cannot just go in and say, okay, my husband don't go, deal with me, give me the money.
Some women believe I should have the right to keep my name. Why must I change my name to my husband's name?